All right, everyone. This is Isaac Vega, head of Rose Gauntlet Entertainment, and this is Quinn Brander, our designer for Gone to Gaia. How you doing today, Quinn?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Awesome. Yeah, good. I'm excited to answer some of these fan questions and see if we are able to get everybody excited, even more excited for Gone to Gaia. There is so much stuff that we have to show with this game. It's such a large game, and I'm excited to have people just kind of like learn more about it. The campaign is coming up here soon. We're going to be launching it in October. And we wanted to answer some of these questions that we're beginning on the GameFound page. So I got some stuff here for you. I haven't read these yet. You don't know what they are yet, so we're just going to kind of be shooting from the hip. But we'll go ahead and try to get most of these questions answered today. Ready?
Excited.
Sweet. All right, so question number one is, most board games that advertise themselves as a rogue-lite or a rogue-like seem to miss a few important details about the experience people associate with the genre. Almost no game has progression between runs, like unlocking items, characters, and zones in The Binding of Isaac, investing in the towns like Rogue Legacy and etc., and the procedural level generation. Um, so here's where he gets to the questions. So they get to the questions. One, is there any progression between runs?
Yes, there is. This is a true rogue-lite, so we're not misusing the term.
Mm-hmm.
There is progression both within a run, and you lose that, and then there's also progression outside of runs. So the main mechanic for this is that you collect monster parts or creature parts, and then you will spend those at the store in Bird's Nest, and you'll get permanent upgrades. But there are other permanent progression paths as well. Like you have these cards that represent your heroes, and they start off with some equipment, but they also have some empty slots. And there are ways that you can add powers to those, which are also giving you permanent progression. And there are even other ways as well, but we don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah, one of the things that really excited me about the game when Quinn first showed it to us is the amount of progression that he had baked in already, and how true to the roguelike experience he was trying to emulate in a board game form. And I felt the same way, that there wasn't really any board games out there that were doing this in such a great way. And Quinn bringing that into the mechanics was just fantastically done. So we're very, very excited for y'all to check that out. The second part of this question, is there a procedural level generation? So he has quite a little quotation here. This one is funny, as many old board games have it, even though they don't advertise themselves as such, ending up more like roguelikes than the ones claim to be, like Machina. I think it's Machina Arcana and League of Dungeoneers. Most seem like drawing 3 cards and choosing one is enough to be rogue. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so it does have procedural level generation. Unlike a lot of other games in the genre, this game doesn't really have terrain. But the monsters end up being the terrain, because there are a lot of monsters, and they have abilities that will like make you need to react to them very differently. So they are almost like natural forces sometimes. And then there are other things, like you'll spawn in a different location every time. There's often collectibles, there's the standard collectibles like the loot that the monsters drop, but there's even other special kinds of collectibles. And all of this creates like a varied experience from wave to wave.
Now, how many hours do you estimate finishing everything the game will take, Quinn?
Depends on what you mean by everything in the game.
That's very true.
Yeah, we pack the game with secrets, and a lot of those secrets we actually want only a small percentage of players get. But the normal campaign is about 25 to 30 hours, depending on how many side quests you do. And then we've also designed the game to be like highly replayable. Like even once you finish the campaign, you can jump right back into a new game plus, where you have like a lot more starting powers, but the enemies are all on hard mode.
Right.
There's also like we add like a new weapon type. There's a lot, and then you get to see a lot of story paths that it is not possible to see all the story paths in one playthrough. So you'll be able to explore other viewpoints, other things happening in the world.
Yeah, There are
Go
so
ahead.
many decisions that you make across the game's story, like, and so many different things that you won't be able to unlock on the first playthrough. So the replay value here is through the roof. It's fantastic. So Quinn, how do you plan to add hazards to the battlefield?
Great question. So the monsters are hazards. So
Mm,
it really it depends on the monster. Um, okay, so for instance, there is like a spore cloud monster that can only be attacked like in a certain way. There are other monsters that are immune to certain types of damage. Um, and there are monsters like that have this ability called Fatal Flaw, where they have to be killed in a certain order. And because like if you can't kill a monster, it still ends up being a threat to you because if you hit it, it will counterattack. And the counterattacks are like a positional threat, right? And so you basically end up like maneuvering around some monsters as if they were big scary rocks.
nice, nice. Yeah, the variation of the different monsters in this game is quite exciting, and the puzzle that it creates is really, really interesting. I always enjoy showing someone new that hasn't played the game before, just kind of like the different ways in which they can go ahead and try to attack the battlefield's current situation. And what's really cool too is that it just changes up with every playthrough because nobody's experience is going to be exactly the same because you don't know what spawn card is going to be coming out and how the setup's going to be. So even though you're fighting monsters, they might be in a completely different position than they've ever been before, which can really change up how you approach the situation that you're in.
Absolutely. There are two inputs that are coming at you, right? So there's the monster input, which is different every
Mm-hmm.
time. There's also the levels. So every time you level up, you draw a level card, and it does give you a choice of 3 options, and you'll
Right.
choose, right? And so you might have a build that you have in mind, but like if the cards aren't giving you that option, then that's just not going to happen for you. So you really do have to adapt. But we try and give you like a lot of flexibility. You'll notice when you try the game that there are a lot of different tools that give you some leeway. So for instance, your Delver Suit Boars have a bunch of alternate abilities.
Right.
So like, let's say you have a weapon that's like not the right weapon for this moment. Instead of using it for the weapon ability, you can use it for the Delver Suit slot. And that is really interesting. And like some of the best plays I've seen are using the alternate abilities.
Yeah, because
And then
it really opens up so many things that you can do, and then which ones you decide to cover up, and which ones you decide to leave open for later in the playthrough is really interesting as well. So I just love the decision points that you have right from the beginning of the game.
yeah, absolutely.
So here's another question we have for you, Quinn. I see there's a legacy tag on this game. Is the game resettable, or is this a one-time playthrough?
That's a great question. And I feel like that's a discussion that me and Isaac still need to work out the fine details of. But the game does have stickers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stickers
Correct.
will be applied to cards. And I don't think they're going to be super easy to remove. I understand correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is limited items within the game. So this is mostly the hero cards that are going to have stickers on them, as well as some potential stuff that's going to be happening in Bird's Nest as well. That is going to be shown by stickers. So there is going to be permanent effects that are going to be happening on your game. We are going to be offering a recharge pack essentially as well, but this is not going to be available on the campaign page. It will be available in the pledge manager. So after you went ahead and pledged, we'll provide that as well, and it's going to be as low of a cost as that we can make it. So then that way, for people that want to play the game multiple times through, they can go ahead and have these things accessible. And it's also a very, very small part of the whole materials within the game. We're talking about a small deck of hero cards, as well as the Bird's Nest board as of right now. And we'll go ahead and keep you updated if there's any sort of additional progress there. But we want to make sure that most of what you're getting in the game is not going to have to be completely refreshed every single time you play. But we also want to have the impact of these kinds of heroes being taken to the next level, being able to record what you're having happen to them as you're playing throughout the game, and be able to show that it's possible that you might lose some of these characters as well. And having an attachment to characters is something that we want players to feel and feel taken away from them as well.
And maybe I can maybe add like a
Mm-hmm.
philosophical note. Like, why is it a legacy game? So like a lot of my favorite games, they're my favorite, like, because they feel like almost personal, like I'm in the game, right?
Yeah.
And the only way that you can really have that effect is if you're making choices that can't just be changed,
Right.
permanent, consequences to your actions. It gives everything stakes, right? If your characters can die, then you care way more about the outcome of this fight than if
Exactly.
you lose and they're fine.
Yeah, and it makes that graveyard moment that we have in the game as well, because you get to go ahead and mark off when your characters die and kind of tell us their parting words, and it just adds a level of depth and heart to the game that I think you can't take away from the experience. It just means so much more in this world and the theming around it. All right, so is there a chance that the monsters can be tamed and made into companions?
Not currently.
Now,
It's a great idea.
our artist list has drawn some tameable, tameable companions. It's something we're exploring. That's something that we could potentially do. But as of right now, something else that people don't know too is that this is what we're hoping to be book one in the series. We are hoping to take the Gone to Gaia series into multiple different iterations as well. So there's lots of things that we can take from this and actually bring into book two as well. So any of your guys' suggestions, thoughts, there's so much already packed into this game that we don't want to overwhelm you, but we also want to be able to have some really cool things that we hear from the fan base and be able to bring that into future iterations of Gone to Gaia too.
Absolutely.
Which languages will it be? English only? I guess this is a question mostly for me. So as of right now, we don't have any foreign partnerships that we've put together with it, that we can go ahead and localize into other languages. Those are things that we're currently working on because the game has a lot of text in order to translate. Those are deals that end up taking a little bit more time. So right now, we are able to bring the English version guaranteed to the public. We are working on additional languages deals, and there's a lot of interest so far, which is great. But typically, in order for partnerships to be able to take place, they need to see the completed text, they need to know the final word count, and because we don't have that completely finalized yet, it's just going to take a little bit more time before we can go ahead and make sure that we can announce any sort of official partnerships in other languages. We are incredibly grateful to those of you that are primarily speaking other languages and are interested in this game, and we appreciate your support if you can play in English, but if you need to wait for another language, we completely understand. But like I just want to remind everyone that supporting this campaign makes sure that we can get this in as many languages as possible and out to as many people as possible. So we appreciate your support in making sure that Gone to Gaia is a smashing success, because the more successful this campaign is, the more likely that it will be in as many different languages as you guys desire. Our next question here is, will there be videos of gameplay, both solo and two-player? Would it be relevant for the backing decision? Now, we will have a how to play video. I literally just sat down with the person that's putting that together for us yesterday, and they're going to be working on the how to play video. So that will be available at launch of campaign, so you guys will be able to see how the game is played. That will be primarily shown as a two-player experience. One-player experience is not that different from the two-player experience. We don't know yet if we will have a video featuring the solo mode, but we're going to go ahead and see if we can make that work as well, so then that way you guys can at least see how the differences work as well too. Quinn, what exactly are the game mechanics? What's precisely behind roguelike? Often when a board game is defined in the terms of video game category, it's not clear what is meant. So we've kind of already answered this question, but is there anything else that you want to add to that?
Ooh, yeah, sure. So it is an original game system. So like it's hard to describe exactly. Like, it is kind of a deck builder, but it's not really. You know, it's a tactical strategy game with very puzzly combat,
Mm-hmm.
where you have like almost complete information, but sometimes the monsters can surprise you. And then the other half of the game is like an interactive narrative, like a choose your own adventure almost.
For sure, yeah. Here's another question. Something I like to see talked about is if the game has deck building elements and not. And if not, what made the designer change the game from being a digital roguelike deck building game to a campaign board game with minis? And if deck building is still in the board... Okay, this is a long question. What will you use... the deck building for? So essentially, let's just answer the question: is there deck building in the game?
Yes, with an asterisk. All right,
Right.
so I'm going to give you an answer and have it not sound really boring.
Yeah.
So you have 14 equipment slots, right?
Right.
So 14 different kinds of equipment. 7 of them are different types of weapons. 7 of them are different kinds of passives like armor and shield and OS. And each of those decks is 5 cards big. And what the game is all about is getting these cards, which you are then allowed to play, and you kind of exhaust them to take actions. And then you want to improve them, so you can like rank up your cards by leveling up, and that like improves basically the stats of that card, and sometimes gives them new abilities.
Yeah.
So and then there is a deck building part in terms of like it's actually possible to swap out entire decks. So
Right.
like let's say I have a sword, I get a cool fancy sword, and I take out my old sword and I put it in my new sword. And now every time I get a sword card, I get the fancy sword. So that's a straight up deck building mechanic, but it's really more of a rogue-like mechanic, I would say.
Right, right. I would say, like, I think the clearest way of, like, maybe describing it to someone who's never played, it's kind of like a hand building game. You're essentially taking from these decks the most optimal cards that you possibly can in order to build a really unique hand. You're going to be utilizing those action cards in order to be able to take different actions throughout the course of the game, and then hopefully bring those cards back through different things that you can do in the game into your hand. So it's really about how do I utilize hand management in a really, really good way? But also you have access to all these decks that you can eventually switch out cards or add cards to your hands from. But you're not necessarily going to be taking a deck, shuffling it up, and drawing from that deck continuously. It's a very unique experience, like Quinn said. I haven't really seen any other game do anything like this. So I absolutely love it. I adore it. I think it does such a good job of being able to give people the feel of that roguelike experience by utilizing these 14 different decks.
Absolutely. It is very much inspired by games like Hades or Vampire Survivors.
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
they're video games, so obviously very different implementation. But like in Hades, you can improve boons, right? So you can have a thing and then that thing gets better. And it's that feeling, but in a board game.
Yeah. So here's our final question for today. I'd love to hear more about the town progression and story elements. I'd also like to hear more about the mission variety. I really enjoyed the demo at Gen Con, and I look forward to seeing more.
Awesome. Yeah. How do we answer this question without spoiling too much? We can talk about the structure, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the structure is you go back to town and you will go to different areas. Often you're given like a mission, like there's a mystery, like something maybe has happened and maybe it's bad.
Right.
And they're counting on you to figure out what the heck's going on. And so you're kind of poking around town, talking to people, gathering information. And you're also like potentially prioritizing, say, like maybe a new power over maybe knowledge, you know. And then you're going to also be going to the shops, and that's where you'll be spending your loot, all that you collected during the quest to get these permanent upgrades. And that's a really fun, juicy experience of customizing and negotiating with your partner about like who's going to buy what and what kind of build are you making versus like how can I complement that. And then there's a lot of branching story paths. So yeah, we've structured this to be like quite non-linear, and that's caused us a lot of headaches as Isaac.
And it's still quite the web that we're unweaving, right? Like
Yes.
it's an interesting dynamic that we've been working on, because Quinn was the primary the designer that came with us with a fantastic design, and I had built the world even before Quinn had presented a game to us, because originally Gone to Gaia, we wanted Gone to Gaia to be a video game. So I think this is why like the merger is so beautiful and unique, because it was intended to be the world was intended to be a video game, and Quinn's game was so video game like that I think it actually did such a service to the roguelike experience in board game form, something that I did not really think was possible, because I felt a lot of the same issues that people were bringing up in the questions already with trying to represent a roguelike experience in a board game form. And Quinn did such a fantastic job doing that when we saw the game, we were like, this could work so well for Gone to Gaia, and what our intentions were for Gone to Gaia. So we started merging those two ideas together, and a lot of the things that Quinn was working on were ahead of where the story needed to where it currently was, and so things have been updated and changed based on where we've taken the story, we've updated the game, and like back and forth, trying to kind of get into a happy medium for both. And it's been such a rewarding process, like seeing the game come to life and being able to merge these two things. But there's still some things that we're working out and figuring out, especially in the later chapters, because there's just little tweaks and things that need to take place in order for the gameplay to reflect the story and for the story to reflect the gameplay. Because we especially at Rose Gauntlet want to make sure that the theming is just singing throughout the entire experience.
Absolutely. Like one of our ambitions with this game is that like the quality of the writing, we hope will feel like a season of television. Like
Yes.
it's not fluff. It's all like super integrated. It's all super relevant to your gameplay decisions, to your experience of the game, and that has meant a lot of like just doing an enormous amount of organizing work to make an
Yes.
entire playable campaign, and then be like, all right, we're ripping it apart. We're gonna start from the
Yes.
start, from the beginning, and we've actually done that twice already. And then like we're basically on the third iteration.
Yeah.
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 And like because like to get a campaign right, like it needs to sing in the beginning and in the middle and in the end.
For sure.
They're different challenges.
For sure. Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are helping us with that process. Like, obviously, Quinn and I are the main contributors to the project, but we also have David who's helping us with writing. Liz is bringing a lot of her own flair to the story and world with her art that she's bringing to the table. Lindsay's going to be coming in and checking through editing and making sure that we're not spending too much time on the story aspects that are taking too long or are detracting from the gameplay. And then we have our editor as well, and it's just such a merger between our entire team. Our team is so excited about this project, and our graphic designers have also been doing a fantastic job working together because it's just a big game. Like there's just so much going on, but like we're just so incredibly excited to get it to the table for you guys, and we are really feel that it is a special project, and everybody that we put it in front of has enjoyed it so much. And we really appreciate ending on this question here with someone who actually got to try it out at Gen Con and wants to see more. So yeah, we're excited to get to show you more. Quinn, is there anything that you would like to say to the audience? We might do a couple more of these before the campaign, so if you all have any more questions, feel free to go ahead and let us know. And if you have even questions during the campaign, we can go ahead and see if we want to answer those too through a video. Quinn, anything else you want to say to the fans?
No, like keep the questions coming. Also, like keep comments, anything. I love to see it. We love to engage with you guys. And yeah, I look forward to like getting this game to as many people as possible.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and talk to y'all later. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we're really hopeful that we can get Gaia to you as quickly as possible, and we can't wait to see how the campaign does.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to our discussion today. If you have any more questions about Gaia or would like to ask us any more questions, please go ahead and check out our GameFound page. There, you can go ahead and find out more information about the game, as well as also follow and receive access to alternative Delver miniatures, which you will receive for being an early supporter. Your support means the world to us, and we couldn't make games without you, so thank you so much for your interest in Gaia and our other projects.